What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. Today is kind of an interesting one because, yeah, we're doing a live video on Wednesday, and it's just me. It's not the Vet Syndicate crew. It's just Horsepower Obsessed for today. But this is kind of an impromptu live, we'll say, because as of yesterday, we got some really cool videos and pictures of the new C8 Corvette ZR1, thus meaning there's a lot of information that we need to discuss because there is a lot of things that this car kind of showed us that no one's really talking about. So let's get right into it. Guys, today we're going to jump over to the mid-engine Corvette forum.com, and this is where a lot of the information starts to come to light. Now, I didn't read through a lot of the comments on the mid-engine Corvette forum, but I started looking at the pictures that were posted originally by Motor One, which if you guys haven't seen my video about yet, I put that up yesterday really early in the morning as soon as this information broke. And this is where things start to get interesting when we start really looking at the pictures of the C8 Corvette Z06 or ZR1, I'm sorry. Because there is a lot of stuff that stands out to me right off the bat. So if you guys haven't seen this car yet, this is what it's going to look like. Now, there's still camo on the car, of course, but the majority of it's gone, revealing a bunch of new things. So we have a new aerodynamic hood. We have at least two additional inlets for air to come in to either keep the engine cool, or in this case, the turbos cool. And also, you can't miss the elephant in the room, that gigantic wing on the back. So there's really only three big things making this thing different than the Z06, but there's more that's hidden, more that's kind of lurking under the surface. So for those of you who haven't seen this yet, we have two new intakes in the back. Right along the side, along the actual big scoop intake, there's an additional intake, and then up on the top of the shoulders of the car, there are two intakes. So you can see that really clearly from here. Now, where those intakes are located in the rear, I can almost guarantee you that is for cool air to enter the turbos. This is, without a doubt, a twin turbo setup car, and you're going to agree with me as soon as we play some video clips for you in a second. Now, where things start to really get interesting even further than just those intakes, though, is the front end. Yeah, so if we look really closely at that front end, what do you notice? It looks a lot like a Z06 in the front, right? But there is no center radiator. So that center portion is opened up, and the little plate that you remove for the license plate cover is gone, but there's no center radiator there. Now, what this kind of tells me is that's not really for cooling so much as it is for air coming in and going through the front and up over that new opening in the hood to really give this thing the aerodynamics it needs to keep it planted to the ground. So if there's not a radiator right there, it might be moved back and slightly angled differently like it is in a Ferrari, because it needs to address that aero first before it worries about cooling another radiator. This is also probably why there is two additional setups for air intake. So additional radiators in the rear means that one in the center doesn't have to be there, and it can be more for aerodynamics. But where things start to get kind of weird is whenever we start looking at the non-ZTK version of the ZR1. So if you guys saw the video again that I put out the other day, the non-ZTK version of the car looks like it has a typical normal Z06 wing. So for that, we go over to the CorvetteBlogger.com, and you can see it right here. This is a ZR1 with the Z06 wing, or the non-ZTK version, and you can clearly see there's a radiator in the front. So interesting, because it also, you can clearly see, it also has the new hood. So why would this one have a radiator and the other one doesn't? Now, again, if we scroll down some more, you get another really clear shot of the front of the car with the big wing. There's no radiator in the center. So it is definitely using that air to come through and then up over the hood to keep that front end planted to the ground. Now, it's pretty cool considering the ZR1 usually does focus a lot on aero, and it looks like that's not going to be any change here. The only thing I can think with this one is that they just haven't removed that radiator yet, because a lot of these cars are being tested in Z06 bodies to kind of throw off the public. But we do have a video of the ZR1 on the Nurburgring, and it is very, very, very likely a 6.2 liter twin turbocharged. Yes. It's not a flat plane crank. There's no way this is a flat plane crank, and I'm going to show you a video here in a second so you can hear it yourself. It sounds nothing like the Z06. No way it's a flat plane. And I kind of called this from the very beginning because to twin turbocharge a flat plane crank, especially a 5.5 liter flat plane crank, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for reliability issues left and right. And that's not really something that GM's going to do. So I had a feeling they were going to just do the normal cross plane crank, throw twin turbos on it, and that's exactly what it sounds like we got. So before we do jump into that video though, guys, I do want to mention one thing. I know this video is kind of about the ZR1, but if you would like to win a C8 Corvette Z06, you can actually do that right here. The link is in the description down below, and I'll also paste it in the chat here and pin it for you guys to go to and win this. You can literally win this Z06, the one that's pictured right here, right now. It is pinned in the chat. Check it out, guys, because if you buy the tickets from here and use the code that automatically is in there whenever you click on $25, up here at the top left, you'll see promo code HPO. That gives you an additional 25% tickets to win. So basically, if you're going to enter, you might as well get the extra 25%. Check out that link. Get yourself entered to win a Z06, even though we are talking about a ZR1 today. It's still a pretty cool car. It's a nicely optioned car. You can see all of the options down here. It's a 24 Arctic white exterior, 2LZ trim, adrenaline red / black two-tone interior, competition seats, which you guys know I'm always recommending, bright red calipers, red seat belts, gloss black wheels, engine appearance package, and black exhaust tips. So, like I said, if you're going to try to get a Z06 for free, why not get an extra 25%? Anyway, guys, moving on to the next little bit. I want to try to keep this video a little bit shorter. I don't want to go too crazy with length here. This isn't going to be our typical hour-long Monday Night Lives. But, yeah. We're going to try to get through this pretty quickly. So the next thing is the Corvette blogger, again, talking about the ZR1 on the Nurburgring. Now, you guys know those shots that were taken with the low camo amount of the ZR1 was at the Nurburgring. And I'll be honest, one of the first things that stick out to me in this picture here, I like the new ZR1 wheels, but the ZR1 rear wheels are still sunken into the body just like they did with the Z06. I hate that. Right off the bat, you're going to need wheel spacers on this thing. That's one of the first things that occurred to me. But anyway, the Corvette blogger's kind of breaking it down, talking about how fast the C8 ZR1 can be at the Nurburgring and how fast it should be, more like, because the C7 Corvette ZR1, more official kind of time, was 7 minutes and 4 seconds, but the segmented time that Jim Merrow ran was 6 minutes and 58 seconds. And when Jim Merrow was questioned about it, he said that he could have definitely gone faster in that C7 ZR1, but he was forced to do it on cold tires and on a slightly rainy day. So we'll just give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll say the C7 ZR1 only ran a 7 minute and 4 second time. We have not gotten a confirmation of what the C8 Z06 ran over there, and odds are good we probably won't get one for the ZR1 either, but we can imagine that the C8 ZR1 is going to run faster than the C7 ZR1. I drive my C8 Z06 all the time, and one of the things I can notice right off the bat is the handling of the C8 Z06 is definitely tighter and more accurate than my C7 ZR1. So I feel like the C8 Z06 had to have beaten, or at least come very close to the C7 ZR1 at the Nurburgring. I know there's no times yet, so there's no way to say for sure, but that's just my personal experience. So as you guys know by now, this thing has a gigantic wing in the ZTK form. And I mean, look how massive that thing is. It's basically the same wing that the C8R has. And that thing was massive to begin with. But now it is on a production car, and it is going to just absolutely tear it up. So what do you guys think? I don't want to make this video super long, like I said, but I am curious as to what your thoughts are on the ZR1. Is this a car that you're going to look at trying to get? Yeah, guys, smash the thumbs up button if you can. It really helps the channel. I'm curious if you guys are going to do a ZR1 over a Z06. Ralph Cruz asks, will you be selling your ZR1 for the C8 ZR1? there's a lot of things that depends on. Price being one of the big ones. If you guys haven't thought too much about this yet, the C8 Corvette ZR1 is very likely going to max out well over $200,000. So if you go with a 3ZR, ZTK package, all the good stuff, you're probably looking at 210 to 220 before taxes, before markups. And you know these things are going to be marked up. So I can't answer that question just yet. I need to know more information. Now, there are already rumors swirling out there that says there is going to be at least 2 new colors for this car. So there's a good chance we don't see this car available until 2026. And in 2026, we're likely to have 2 new colors circulated into the paint mixtures. Now, we can all speculate, or at least keep our fingers crossed, that one of those colors is a lime green, or possibly a really, really bright purple. These are 2 that have been talked about since the C8 Corvette first came out. It is possible it would happen here. No, Ralph, I don't think that will be the case. I don't think the ZR1 is going to be a low production car like it was for the 2019. Even in 2019, it was really never intended to be a low production car. It's just GM wanted to get to the 2020s, so the C8 so quick that it ended up being a short run. The ZR1 in the C6 generation, it was years. So I believe with the C8, it will be the same. I think the Zora will be where it's a short run, because that Zora is likely to just about touch 300. Yeah, Bill Sharp says no ZR1 for him. It's too much money. And that's going to be the problem, I think, across the board. This thing is going to be expensive even before you're considering markups. Now, before we get too much further into it, guys, I do want to talk about what this thing sounds like. I know a lot of you guys out there thought that it was going to be the LT6 from the Z06 with twin turbos. I knew from the very beginning that was not what they were going to do. Its reliability is not, it's not good on flat plane crank when you forced induction it. So I'll let you hear it and you guys can tell me. So here it is. All right, so there you have it. What do you guys think? It is definitely not a flat plane crank. There's no way. It is a very deep sound, and if I had to guess, this is a 6.2 liter twin turbocharged engine. And it's interesting because if you listen really closely as the car's going away around the turn, you can kind of hear a turbo spool. And no, it's a cross plane crank, and that's exactly what I said from the very beginning. There was no way that this was going to be a twin turbocharged LT6. It's just a reliability nightmare from GM's perspective. Now, the thing is this leads to an easy Zora, because if you have this engine that's a 6.2 liter engine that's twin turbocharged, creating over 800 horsepower by itself, then all you got to do is add the E-Ray engine motor up front, maybe tweak it a little bit and add a little bit more power to it, and you're easily at 1,000 horsepower. And then all of a sudden, all of these things start to line up, because that was what the rumors were from the very beginning. It's definitely not a flat plane crank. I agree. I'm glad that no one else is thinking that it was, because there is zero sound coming out of that thing that sounds like a flat plane crank. AARPM says, what if it's another bespoke engine? It could be, but I kind of feel like it's going to be, I guess it could still be bespoke, but it's going to be the 6.2 out of the Stingray, beefed up with heavier internals and tuned differently, et cetera, with twin turbos. I think that's exactly what it's going to be. GM's not, I never want to use the word lazy, but GM's not exactly going to, redo the wheel twice in the same generation. So with the LT6 engine, that was just an absolute from scratch beastly motor. And then with the one going into the ZR1, I bet you it's just a slight tweak and rebuild of the 6.2 we have in the Stingray now with twin turbos. And with the way that the pictures from the front, especially the way that these things look, it is definitely, those intakes on the shoulders of the car are definitely for a cold air suction for the turbos. There's no doubt in my mind. And then if you look at the side scoops, you have the normal big scoops for radiators and everything, and then the ones on the additionally on the side again are probably even more cooling for the turbos. So I mean, it makes perfect sense at this point that we are getting a turbocharged ZR1. Now, where things start to get even more interesting, though, is when we scroll through some of this this thread here, we can start to see more details about the ZTK wing that this car is going to have. So for those of you who aren't familiar with what that means, the C7 Corvette ZR1, you could get it in non-ZTK or ZTK, and it changed the size of the spoiler, basically. ZTK was the big wing, non-ZTK was the smaller, more C7-esque looking wing. Now, when looking at this looks very similar even to the wing that's on the C7 ZR1. The end plates are flipped upside down from the C7 ZR1, it looks like. But the stanchions, the two stanchions in the middle, look very similar. And when you zoom in on the actual stanchion there, you can see each stanchion has two bolts holding the wing on. Now, what that tells me is this wing is not an active wing. It's not active aero. I know a couple people had said out there that it was active aero. This is not active, but it is adjustable. So just like on the C7 Corvette ZR1, there was two bolts on each stanchion. You could loosen them, and you could literally put the wing further down, forward, or back and up. So depending on what you wanted as far as downforce is concerned, you could adjust it. You could do the same with this one with those four bolts ultimately. And there is a picture in here that shows those bolts a little closer. But before we go to that, here's the non-ZTK wing. I have a feeling this is going to get changed because the non-ZTK wing is just the Z06 wing. Odds are very good that's not what's going to be the non-ZTK wing, but this is just GM testing the car without the big wing. If I had to guess, like I said, it will be a slightly different design because it would be weird for GM to bring out that car with a Z06 wing and call it the non-ZTK wing. Let me show you the picture. Yeah, right here it is. So you can clearly see the two bolts on the stanchion right here that are for adjustment purposes. So if you loosen those bolts, it would allow you to adjust the spoiler further back, which would give you a little bit less downforce. Or if you tilt it forward, it's going to just smash the rear end of that car down. So definitely going to have some serious downforce. I know the C7 Corvette ZR1 had 1,000 pounds of downforce. The C8 Z06 has more downforce at, I think it was 186 miles per hour than the C7 ZR1 did with the big wing. So this thing is likely to be, and someone mentioned it in the chat here, that it was going to have around 1,500 pounds of downforce because that's right around what the Viper ACR had. And this thing, the wing on this thing is very comparable to the ACR's wing. It's just massive. But yeah, again, showing these stanchions and the adjustable wing, it's definitely going to be adjustable in some degree, but a lot of people speculated that it was going to be active. It's not active. But again, here we have circled here the two new intakes. So if you guys haven't seen this, again, right there it is. The ones up on the top, on the shoulders of the car, I like to call it, those are very likely inlets for the turbos. And the ones on the side are probably cooling for the turbos. And you can see both of them are going to direct air almost into the same spot. So the one on the side, I think, is going to be a cooling aspect for the turbo itself. It's literally going to push air right past the turbo. And the one on the top, that's where the turbos are literally going to pull the air from. If you think about the C8 Corvette engine in general, the engine bay, where that hatch closes, that's exactly where those turbos would sit. So it makes perfect sense. What Devarius King says, Justin, what do you think about the tire size 22 back with 21 in the front? For the ZR1, I don't have where tire size is talked about. I thought they were the same. I'm pretty sure they're still just 20s in the front, 21s in the rear. 69 thumbs up currently, guys. Please smash the thumbs up if you're liking the content. Like I said, this is a little bit outside of the normal for the channel here. We're just excited about the ZR1, and I wanted to get out some new news for you guys because it is something that's pretty substantial. This car is going to change a lot of things. But again, if you guys are interested in seeing more about this, the Mid-Engine Corvette forum has, you know, some discussions happening in here and a little bit more pictures involved. But again, yeah, it's looking good. And if you, I gotta mention it again, if you look at it from the rear here, especially, there's rear wheels being sunken in like that. I don't know why Chevy keeps doing that. From what I can tell, these look like the same size wheels, like the 20s in the fronts, 21s in the rears, most likely 345 wides in the rear again, just a different style wheel. Nathan Moore said it could be brake cooling as well. I actually heard somebody else mention that too, but my concern with that is it's really high up to be brake cooling. I feel like for them to put brake coolers that high up on the car, there's going to be a lot of plastic ducting on the way down to the actual caliper that it would, I feel like that's going to interfere with a lot of the current cooling that's there. Thanks for tuning in, Jason. Have a safe flight. Bruna says you're always outside of the normal. Just ask Gamber. Yes, she would agree. Dr. Corvette, I think me and you both are in. We kind of discussed this, but we need to take delivery together. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, so anyway, let me scroll through a couple more of these pictures here, guys. Again, very clearly showing that really massive rear wing. I'm going to reserve judgment on the rear wing because I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I love it, but I said the same thing about the Z06, Z07 wing whenever I saw it under camo. I didn't like it, but seeing it in person, I wouldn't have the car any other way. So odds are good I'm going to feel the same about this once it comes out, but as it sits right now, it doesn't look right. So we'll see what happens. It's definitely engine cooling and turbo cooling for sure. That's what these extra inlets are all about. But anyway, here's another shot from the front, guys, with the ZTK version of the car with the big wing. You can see in the center there is no radiator. No radiator in the center. And that center part where the license plate bracket is on the Z06, it's removed. So definitely has something to do with that new hood. But there's a nice shot of the new wheels. I do like the wheel design. It looks really good. Now, the GTD doesn't have anything on anything. Even the C8 Stingray, it barely has anything on the C8 Stingray. Again, clear shot of no radiator in the front. There was another shot I wanted to show you of the new front hood. Yeah, right there. So from the side, you can really see that new hood, the way that the arrow's working, and that spoiler in the rear has such a curvature to it. Follows the curvature of the rear bumper, but it actually stands off the rear bumper. So if this is your rear bumper, the wing's actually leaning backwards off of it, and it's curving around the actual bumper I mean, it looks good. It does look good, but I'm still, like I said, I want to reserve final judgment until I see it on the car without camo. It is a massive wing, but that hood in the front, look at that gigantic opening. And we actually get a little bit of a closer view here. Look how massive that is. That is crazy. And supposedly, it might not affect frunk space, which is really crazy. I think it was the 488 Pista has a very similar approach to their hood. And when you open the hood, it does have a frunk, and it's unaffected by that. So there is a good chance this does not affect the frunk, which I think would be really awesome if GM found a way to do that. Make that aero hood like that and not affect frunk space. Tezo TV says, do you feel a difference with the Z07 spoiler? I was actually on the track yesterday with my Z06, and I can't tell you if I feel a difference because I was never on the track with the Z06 without the Z07 spoiler, but I can tell you with the Z07 spoiler, I never felt like that car was leaving the ground. It was very, very, very planted the entire time. Mark says the ZR1 is looking amazing with all the aerodynamics. It really is. And I mean, that hood, look at that hood. That is incredible. And then again, we got some more talk of the stanchions, the adjustability of the rear ZTK's wing. And yeah, here's the talk of the Pista with still having a frunk with a very similar looking hood. So, yeah. Yeah, so Bruno says, with the ZR1 coming out, I'm assuming the C8 lifespan will be around for a while. There's no doubt in my mind that the C8 generation runs until at least 2030. Maybe even 2032. If you think about how many delays the C8 has had in general because of COVID, UAW workers striking, parts supplier issues, the length of this generation has been extended just because of those things, if nothing else. But yeah, guys, so that's going to be pretty much it for today. I just wanted to get this out to you guys and have a little bit of a conversation about this ZR1. Like I said, check out the description down below if you want to try to win a C8 Corvette Z06. It's a really nice spec. Worst case scenario, you can choose the money option and it's $100,000 right in your pocket, or you can take the car. I would take the car. The C8 Z06 is really an amazing car, and with this one coming on its heels, if nothing else, you have a nice car to trade in. So check out the link in the description down below, guys. I will keep you up to date as things keep moving with the C8 Corvette ZR1. So stay tuned to the Horsepower Obsessed channel. And as always, guys, I will catch you in the next upload.